All right, y'all, welcome back. This is episode 7 of Beyond Control. I keep saying I'm going to get more consistent with this, and I am. I am. This is it happening. Couple of things before I jump in. Couple of things you need to know about me. One, I say y'all more now living in the Pacific Northwest than I ever did when I lived in the South. So that's fun. Two, it's September 20th, which means it's past September 15th, which means it's okay for me to finally get out all of my fall witchy stuff because I'm a witch all the time, but especially as we get closer to Halloween. So I've got like all my candles burning in the background. I got the cutest new ones. Evil Queen Candles is my favorite candle company. They're all I buy from anymore, and I have a slight obsession. And no, I'm not paid by them. They'll probably never even hear me speaking, but if you've never heard of it, look them up on Instagram. They have a website too, but Instagram's more fun. um, go get you some of their stuff for this fall. It's like the best smells, and also they have the best like names for their candles. It makes you feel, if you're having a bad day, it's like just go there. It'll fix everything. Promise. Anyway, today I want to talk to you about, I just kicked off, or I just wrapped up, sorry. I just wrapped up. Thankfully, I didn't just kick it off because it's a lot of work. Just wrapped up a 7-day craving control challenge, and I felt like it would be worth it to come on and chat with you guys about what I learned when I was doing that. Let's dive right in. Number one, anytime you engage in work that is personal to you, expect to surprise yourself and expect to be emotionally drained. As I was coming up with the content for this challenge, so I decided to do all video prompts this time through, which is different than how I've done things in the past. And so I had to record a video prompt for every day, right? Each day had a different focus. And as I was thinking about the material that I wanted to use and trying to make it all flow together in a way that made sense, and I would have to speak fairly in depth on a specific subject, right? And these are all subjects that I have very close personal experience with. And we talk about, like, when we talk about craving control, we're talking about food, right? Our relationship to food, our relationship to our bodies, and generally the idea that like anybody that was in this challenge on some level feels like they have no control at times when it comes to food, or like food is controlling them or cravings are controlling them instead of vice versa. And that's just, it's never a good way to feel. And I obviously, I do this work because I've walked this road, so I relate to this super, super well. So I'm having to make videos around, this is what's happening for you, this is how we deal with it, and having to like look in the mirror, right? Every single day at, am I following the advice that I'm giving to all of my clients and potential clients? And most of the times that answer is yes, but sometimes that answer is no. Like sometimes I discover like, oh wow, I've really been like leaning into that way of coping lately, and I don't love that way of coping. There were days where I felt really proud of how far I'd come, right? Like you guys have heard my story. I have been super restrictive with food. I've been super bingy with food. I've had all sorts of disordered cycles when it comes to food and exercise and how I have engaged with them. So sometimes when I would speak on a topic, I would think back to 6, 7 years ago and be like, wow, I never would have been able to lean into this back then. Um, and other times I would find myself starting to purposefully implement the work that I was talking about. Like an example would be when we did hunger fullness cues. I tend to kind of portion out food and just eat it because I know that it's an appropriate portion. Like I know what 4 ounces of meat looks like. I know what a cup and a half of veggies looks like. I know what a cup of carbohydrates looks like. I know generally speaking, like what that balance is, and then I just eat it instead of slowing down enough to think about like, when am I actually full? And do I need to finish the food that's on my plate or not? And so throughout the challenge, I found myself sometimes putting some of my dinner back or dumping it a little bit, because my tendency is to kind of go all day and like not stop enough for meals and snack. And then I get to dinner and I'm like, I know I'm hungry, but then I end up overly full at the end of it. So throughout this challenge for me, I actually found myself trying to incorporate more food throughout the day and then not eat till like overly full at night. Um, that was just kind of one example of like, oh, right, like I'm not done. This is, I'm connected to this work still, you know? And I think, you know, anytime that you engage in work that's personal to you, especially if you're in like a leadership position or a coaching position with it, you're gonna feel like an imposter to an extent. I definitely had that every single day with this, and I have it every single day when I coach in general. I'm like, am I the right person to be teaching people about this particular subject that's been like such a thorn in my side for so long? And then I go back and I think about all the people that I listen to, and it's like, yeah, I am, because I trust people that have walked the path that I'm walking, you know, to lead me down that same path. And that's no different than here. But it doesn't mean that you don't have to deal with the self doubt. Um, and I think one of the best ways to do that is to A, believe the people when they give you feedback that they are enjoying the content, and B, put some mentorship in place, like get somebody in place that is going to help support you and give you the message of you can do this work, you are the right person to do this work, you're in the right place. It makes a world of difference. Makes a world of difference. Okay, so that's number one. Second thing I learned, due diligence in giving all of your points weight is important. And the reason this one's true is because everybody's going to need to hear something different than the person next to them, right? And something different is going to click for everybody. So I had 7 different days of topics, right? And an example was like day 1 was, we talked about like, what even are the different types of hunger and how to identify, am I feeling physically hungry, or is this coming from an emotional experience I just had, or is this something that's habitual, or is it, am I eating out of practicality right now? Like learning to differentiate those things was all day 1, and very important. And then day 2 was, let's listen to our hunger fullness cues. And then day 3 was, let's talk about triggers and what might cause us to reach for food when maybe it's not out of physical hunger. And while they're all connected, like each day is going to have a different highlight. And I know for me personally, like I don't struggle with every single one of them. I resonate much more strongly with some than others. And that's going to be true for everybody else in the group. But as somebody that's putting that together, I need to understand that they all hold the same weight, because I don't know everybody else's experience and I don't know what's going to click. Right. And so for you as a listener right now, I would say take that and hear that, listen to things in a lot of different ways, especially if you feel stuck in one area. So say you are struggling with your relationship with food, or say you are struggling with getting to the gym consistently, or sticking to your strength program. I don't know, I'm making it up, but if it's not clicking, or if you feel stuck and stuck and stuck, like try to listen to it a different way. Get somebody else to help you. Go follow somebody else. Try a different method. It's not that, like, you're not just stuck forever. You might just need to hear it a little bit differently, right? And you might need to focus on something different than what you've been told to focus on in order to see progress. Great example of that would be for somebody who has chronically dieted or chronically restricted their calories and is now not seeing weight loss. The answer isn't to restrict your calories anymore. Your body has plateaued for a reason. Your metabolism is really slow right now. What you actually need to do is work back to a baseline. You need to add more calories into your diet and get that body running for you better. And then I promise you, you'll move through that plateau. But people don't want to do that, right? They know this way. They've trusted this way because it's worked in the past. It doesn't mean that it's the only way that works, and it doesn't mean that it's the way that's going to work for you forever. So be flexible, be stubborn about your goals, but flexible about the methods that can take you there. And that's the best way to see the quickest progress. Point number 3, the third thing that I learned, energy flows are real, like so real, you guys. In this challenge, day 1 through 3 were awesome. Like everybody was chatting, everybody was watching all the content, they were like engaged, they were doing the homework, all the stuff, and then everybody starts to fall off because like life gets busy, right? And I'm like, just like you do with your diet or with your gym routine, it's really easy to maintain for a very short period of time while motivation is there, but motivation doesn't last. And this is why I don't believe in using it as a good foundation to work towards your goals. It fades so quickly and it is so shakable. Like foundation is so, it's a feeling. The second something brings me down, it goes away. Discipline, however, has nothing to do with an emotion. It is, I have committed to taking this step. I've committed to getting to the gym every day. I've committed to prepping my breakfast every day. I've committed to going to the grocery store every Sunday. I have committed to sitting down with my partner for an hour once a week so that we can talk about our relationship. I have committed to, whatever it is that you're trying to improve on, reading 1 hour a night, a book that helps me learn about business because that's what I want to pursue. Make rules, I guess, for yourself in a way that you know is achievable, and utilize that, right? The discipline of, I have to do the one thing. There are steps in place. Motivation doesn't require steps, right? It's I feel like going, I'm on top of the world, I'm going to crush it. Discipline is, I don't have to do anything today other than show up to the gym. I am putting no pressure on my performance. I am putting no pressure on feeling good in my body while I do it. I am just committed to getting in the door. If you continue to do that, you'll move mountains. If you focus on motivation, you're going to be all over the place. And I'm not saying don't ever work with your energy. Like if you're in a funk where like you're trying to like, you're not a morning person and you're trying to go to the gym in the morning and like have 10 things done before 6 a.m., maybe that's not for you. Working with your energy is fine, but utilizing or relying on energy and motivation alone, not how to see progress. Okay, point number 4, thing number 4 that I learned, community is huge. When I asked people that were in this group, that were in this challenge, one of the most important parts to them was community. And this is why I make it such a big part of my coaching program. And it's why I make sure it's such a big part of my own training regimen and my life overall. Like, I cannot, and this is, again, I reference CrossFit a lot because that's how I like to train, but it's the reason that I like to train largely because of the community. Like I know that if I'm not showing up, somebody's going to ask me where I am. I know that somebody else is there every single day to push me to do better. And it's the same way in a group like this. Like you have people at your fingertips, literally. All you have to do is say help. And people are like, how? Where do you need me to be? What do you need? What's going on? Here's what you need. Like you don't have to do anything except for, raise your hand. And additionally, on top of that, like just seeing other people is going to make you keep things a little bit more front of mind and help keep that motivation, which is easy to work off of, there for you longer, right? It's easier to be disciplined and easier to stay motivated when you see somebody else doing it. Fifth thing that I learned doing this challenge is that you need to let go of control a little bit. And this is like for me as a leader, but I think it parallels the fitness journey as well. Everybody's on their own schedule. You're trying to coordinate a group of who knows how many people to run and have conversations and do work on one timeline. And that's just not going to happen. And that was something that I had to open my eyes to, was like, some people are going to do day one on day one when it's posted. Some people are going to do day 1, 2, and 3 on day 3 when they can get to it. And that's okay. It doesn't mean that they're not benefiting from what's happening. And I would say the same thing to you in a fitness journey, right? Like, okay, you can't be on Susie Q's schedule over here of getting to the gym at 6 a.m. Monday through Friday, but you can go every other day for an hour and a half and do a little bit longer workout, maybe with a little bit less intensity, and you actually have some time on the weekend to get something in. Or, you know, you may not be able to cook dinner every single night and plate it like a Michelin chef would. You have a family. Like, there's no way in hell that's going to happen, but you probably could food prep on Sunday for at least through Wednesday, and then maybe make a grocery run midweek and pick up some stuff that you can throw together that doesn't really take a lot of cooking, and still hit your macros and still see progress, right? Like, it doesn't have to look pretty. It doesn't even have to look how you envisioned it would look. It just has to fit your schedule. So I wanted to talk about that just because I really felt like running the challenge was A, eye-opening, and B, there were a lot of parallels to a fitness and nutrition journey, right? This stuff is true. This, you know, be expected to surprise yourself and be emotionally drained, due diligence, energy flows, community, letting go of things, letting go of control. All of those are factors that would benefit you, whether you are training for a marathon or just trying to love your body more, or both at the same time. So a few nuggets for this week. I don't have a ton today, but it was a really fun challenge, and I am happy with how it went. And I am actually going to be bundling the content. So there's 7 videos, one for each day, different topic. I explain a lot, and then I give you a prompt or some integration work to do. And I say integration work because it sounds better than homework. But really, like, you're not getting the extent of it unless you do the integration work and put this stuff into practice. So that's the reason that it's in there. And I promised challenge participants at the beginning of this that the videos would be like 5 minutes in length. And they're more like 15 most days, like anywhere from 10 to, I think the longest one's like 17. But it's really good content, okay? It's worth it. So they're a little bit longer, but still less than a half an hour, self-paced, right? You could do like one a week if you wanted to. It doesn't have to be one a day. So I'm going to bundle them all together, and I am going to sell them to you. I'm actually basically going to give them away to you, but you have to request it. So if that's something that you're interested in, again, it was a Craving Control challenge. We talk about understanding different types of hunger and really bringing awareness to how we engage with hunger and with food and what is driving our decision to eat. And then once we understand that, I provide a lot of tactics on how to move through some of those things that may not be serving you and bring you into a place where there's a lot more balance, a lot more peace with food, and probably even just healthier habits in general. And by healthy, I mean like stereotypically like less stress, but also from like a caloric and macro balance standpoint, you know, likely less processed food, likely more nutrient dense in general. Okay. So if that's something that you're curious about, hit me up. You guys all have my Instagram handle. It's at katie.k.training. You can DM me there. and I will give it to you if you request it. So that is it. That is it for today. If you're enjoying this content, please, please, please like, follow this podcast, follow me on Instagram. You're going to see a lot of podcast episodes drop through there, and Instagram's going to be one of the main ways that I get my info out. So make sure you're following that account. I can put it in the show notes or in the description of this. And yeah, have a great rest of your week. Hope to chat with you guys soon, and tune in for the next one. Next one's going to be I hiked the Enchantments, which if you don't know where that is, look it up. It's incredible. It's absolutely gorgeous. But I went on a trip with a group of incredible women, and we through hiked it. So it's a 20-mile hike in well, it's a 20-mile hike, and we did it in like less than 12 hours. But people do it a lot of different ways. Anyway, we're going to talk all about that trip and the things that we learned and the things that brought us to tears and the things that made us face our fears. And it's going to be a really great episode with people that I love dearly. So make sure that you tune into that one. Next will be episode 8. All right. Peace.